So Laura, is the programme something you use in your own practice?
Yeah, I have actually. I try and use it at the beginning when I'm getting to know a young person, because actually one of the things that's quite helpful is that the network from the young person's perspective is often quite different from the networks. So there's one example I can think of where I hadn't met the family that I was working with yet, but I'd been to a network meeting and everybody kind of said what they were doing and, you know, sort of painted a picture of there being quite good progress in the work and everything. So then I went to meet the young person and I kind of referred to all these people and she looked a bit blank. So I thought, oh, let's have a go at trying the programme and see kind of from her perspective what all this looks like. Yeah. Well, she couldn't even remember the names of some of the people, let alone what they were doing. And we were just reflecting together on actually quite confusing stuff from her point of view was happening, in that there's all these people that she was either being sent to see or coming to see her. And she couldn't really say, you know, kind of what their job was and what they were doing together. And it just made me realise the plans that we put together are kind of only as good as they are from the young person's perspective. Yeah. So once we'd drawn it out, I was able to sort of fill in a few of the gaps about who the people were. But then we sort of had a bit of a think together about actually would it be helpful to just have a bit more of a recap about what each person's doing with you. Because then if I was going to be helpful to her, I don't want to come in and do what someone else is already doing.
Be another of these
odd
people who,
these strange people. But anyway, in doing that, we kind of found out a bit more of a way forward, which was that we try and do it together a bit, sort of go and come to this appointment, find out what's kind of happening there, and see if it made sense. So in the end, it was quite useful because actually some of the bits of work we didn't kind of need sort of all happening at the same time. And it just helped us put it in a bit of an order of what are we going to actually work on first and who's going to do that. And it felt like it made a lot more sense, and the young person was able to sort of think about who out of all these people actually needed to know what was going on for them. So in that instance, that was probably the one that sticks in my mind the most.
One of the ways I found it helpful is to use it to think about, you know, a client's relationship to help by thinking about previous professional relationships as well, not just the current ones. So I once did it with a young man who had lots and lots of workers. He was a looked after child, and he put himself in the middle and then just arranged all the other workers on as close to the edge of the paper as he could, because he just said none of them get it, and they also don't seem to talk to each other. Yes. So I asked about some previous relationships, and there was just one worker that he put right next to him. Yep. And it turned out it was one of the clinicians from social care called Sheila. Okay. And Sheila had only been around for about 3 months, but it enabled me to ask about, well, what was it about Sheila? Yes. And he said, well, she got it. She was the only one out of everybody who really got it. Which kind of led to conversations about, so what was it that she got, and if me or one of these others was able to get it like Sheila got it, what would we need to know? Yes. And actually what we negotiated was I would have a conversation with Sheila so that she could kind of share some of her understanding, some of her magic with me. So it was really great for trying to think about what was going to make a difference, what was going to bring about a relationship that actually felt helpful by thinking about previous. Yeah, that's nice. You're making me think of another time actually in a cafe. You use what you've got, don't you? So we were sitting at a table with the ketchup and all the rest of it, the salt and pepper, and we kind of used the objects to map out what the network looked like, but then actually moved them around to think about what we would like it to look like. Because I think that's the other thing. It's quite good to do it on paper because you've got the visual record. But it was also quite fun using the objects because then, I don't know, there's a bit of freedom in thinking, actually for this young person, there could be something about them saying, here's what I'd find helpful and here's what it would look like. Yeah. And then we took photos of it. Yes, because you can move those around, exactly. Sort of play fantasy network. Yeah, and there is that element of actually, in an ideal world, we should try and make it something that the young person feels they've got a bit of influence over. Yeah. And I guess for the record, you can always take a photograph of that and upload it to your system or whatever. Very handy too.